Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, December the 29th. We're getting ready to go into 2018 and has become a tradition with us on Radio Friends for the past 100 years or so, I guess it is. We had my friend Hank Waters. Good to have you here, Hank. Oh, you're way over there.
Hello, man. I hate for you to say 100 years because that's closer to being true than it used to be.
Hank Waters, and of course everybody knows Hank because for so many years, every single day, you wrote an editorial in the Columbia Daily Tribune. So you're not doing as much now, but my goodness, you're just such an important part of our community that we couldn't let the year come to an end without having you come on and share some of your wise thoughts of 2017.
No, I know what you're doing. You just want to prove that I'm still alive. If I can show up here and sit in front of your microphone and your camera, that does prove that I'm still alive.
Yeah, you're still alive.
Even though barely, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, you're more than just alive. You look back at 2017, Hank, what is the one big event, if there is just one, that surprised you the most?
You mean it locally or
both,
nationally?
Both locally and nationally.
Well, gosh, nothing surprises us much anymore, does it? I mean, the national scene is really astonishing.
It is, isn't
and,
it?
you know, it's many people are worried. Some of my best friends are liberals, and some of them are conservatives. You might believe that. And I tell some of my liberal friends who are just beside themselves about Donald Trump, that they shouldn't get in such a frenzy because you cannot do your civic duty from the fetal position. Do you like that phrase?
I like that. So if you're upset about what's going on right now, don't be in such a tizzy because you can't do your civic duty from a fetal position.
Yes, at least stay awake, and you can't go into a complete snit because then you're kind of incompetent and you give up.
But what do you do when you feel everything that you are trying to communicate to our elected officials, you're doing the best you can, and when you feel that they're not listening, you have to remind them that we are paying their salary. But sometimes it seems like that falls on deaf ears.
Well, you know, we can't do any more than we can do, each of us. And I'm more hopeful, sanguine is the word I often use, about the situation in Washington, because I don't think that Donald Trump has the ability to ruin the country. He has the ability to cause some mischief along the way. But you know, we're not going to all of a sudden disappear into an abyss of some kind. One of the reasons is what I call the sticky bureaucracy. There's so much apparatus in Washington that sometimes we criticize because it can't get things done we want. Now some of us are saying, that's pretty good to have such a thing as a bureaucracy that resists the overt movements of a chief executive, say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to be all right. The United States is not going to die.
Okay. All right.
You don't sound like you're really quite convinced yet.
I like your attitude. I like your attitude. So what do your conservative friends say?
Well, not all of them are happy, but they don't like to overtly to be too upfront about it. And they, I think, are realizing that Trump himself is not really a fit person to be president. But in the meantime, they will kind of like some of the things that are happening, so... Mm-hmm. They don't talk much about it these days. They're not carrying flags. But I'm not speaking for all conservatives. I can't do that, you know.
Yeah. All right. So we've touched on the national scene. Locally, what do you see?
Good old Columbia. Columbia is always going to be okay because we have so many people of so many different attitudes that are willing to be involved. We win most elections that we want to win and lose one now and then. And I just think that Columbia's cooking along pretty well.
I do too, Hank. And, you know, I feel very privileged that we live now I don't live in Columbia, I live north of Columbia, but I feel very privileged that we live in the community that we do.
Yes.
We have a very diverse community. Mm-hmm. We have a community that is open-minded. Mm-hmm. And it's a privilege to be part of that.
It is.
Here in central Missouri.
And if we don't like something that's going on, we can count on the fact that it is subject to change. And sometimes the things we particular people want is not what most people want, so we don't get change that we want. So what? That's all right.
Yeah, but things tend to work out in the long run.
Yes, they do.
What would you say is one of the most important things that happened locally?
Well, it's the most recent thing that I really did like was the way that the approval of the Broadway Hotel project. I thought that was a good outcome. Mm-hmm. There was some a mixture of opinion about it, as you know, and there's an argument that could be made both ways, but I think it was a good decision. And it showed some independence on the part of the council because, many of their advisors had said they thought it should not be approved. And then the council decided, after having a further consideration that most of them did, that they would approve it. I thought that was a pretty good process. And
then as far as our Columbia Regional Airport is going, that's one thing I'm excited about because we've increased flights out there. We now have 2 major carriers flying into Columbia, which I think is good for our community. We've got American and we've got United Airlines. You can connect to anywhere in the world from Columbia, Missouri.
Exactly right. And if traffic continues to grow, we'll have another one or 2. Yeah. Or who knows how many.
I think a lot of times people don't realize, they may say, well, it's maybe just a little more expensive to fly from Columbia, but they didn't realize you park out there free of charge. Mm-hmm. You park out there free of charge. You get off the airplane, you can be in your car in about 5 minutes or so from the seat of the airplane to your car. So I think that's an important improvement that we've had in our community.
It has. And now, if you have a party of 5 or some large group, it's cheaper to drive to St. Louis. But that's what it is. It's not a terrible thing either way.
Yeah. Now, looking forward to 2018, we got about 30 seconds left here. What do you see happening in the coming year?
That's the way Paul Pepper always does this show. He gives you 30 seconds to explain everything that's going to happen in 2018. And so my reaction to that is to take the entire 30 seconds complaining about the fact that he's only given me 30 seconds.
That's okay, Hank.
How do I know what's going to happen in 2018?
You don't know?
Well, no, I kind of know, but I'm not telling.
Okay. All right. Hank, it's always a pleasure to visit with you. I think I've asked you this before, but now we're down to about 20 seconds or so. Off the top of your head, how many of those columns have you written over the years?
Well, we counted over 18,000 last year at one juncture. I started in May of 1966. I've written almost every day since then. Now we have some days off. We didn't publish everything.
Over 18,000.
Some people say you ought to get a life, Waters.
All right. Hey, Hank Waters, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks, Paul.
Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
And we'll see you next year.
Okay.
Bye-bye.